I remember my dad when he watched the show, he came up to me. I think I was visiting and he goes, Ramy, his cousin, man.
Today, we have comedian and actor Dave Merheje. Dave made waves with his comedy specials and co-starred in Hulu's series Ramy, the first series in the Western world to put Arab and Muslim voices in the forefront from their perspective. Recently, Dave acted alongside Daisy Ridley, which premiered at the Sundance Film Festival in 2023. Sometimes I Think About Dying, now streaming in the US and Canada. You converted to Islam.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more if you feel comfortable?
I grew up religious. I wasn't going to church as much. For Islam, it was like organic.
What is it about Islam for you that brings you peace?
And it's just a connection I have with God.
Welcome to another episode of Yalla, Let's Talk. Today, we have comedian and actor Dave Merheje. Dave made waves with his comedy specials and co-starred in Hulu's series Ramy, the first series in the Western world to put Arab and Muslim voices in the forefront from their perspective. Recently, Dave acted alongside Daisy Ridley, which premiered at the Sundance Film Festival in 2023. Sometimes I Think About Dying, now streaming in the US and Canada. Dave's accolades include winning a Juno Award for Comedy Album of the Year. His Netflix special, Beautifully Manic, is part of the Comedians of the World series, and he has a new special, I Love You Habibi, streaming on Crave. Welcome to Yalla, Let's Talk, Mr. Dave.
Oh, thank you. I like these chairs though.
They're
I
huge.
do feel like, like Game of Thrones where they have the, I felt like, the king is like, or the queen is, it always looked bigger, I feel. The throne, I mean, it's a throne, so it does have to be big.
I get that. This is your throne
This is our
today.
throne.
This is Dave's throne.
Well, it's our throne together.
My man, appreciate you. Dave, I feel like a lot of people who are listening to podcasts admire your journey. You're a comedian, you're an actor. Can you walk us through your journey? How did you end up acting and doing stand-up comedy?
I mean, I always wanted to be a performer. I think since I was, I don't know, like little, but I don't know the exact age, but I just knew I wanted to perform some kind of, some performance. And I think when I was 14, I saw like my uncle would show us like Andrew Dice Clay, Richard Pryor, George Carlin. And yeah, I remember really taking a liking to Richard Pryor's stand-up comedy. And then I was like, oh, this is something I feel like when I grow up, I could do and I want to do. And I saw like particular bits he would do. There was one where he was like doing two characters where it was like a heroin addict and a wino. And I think the wino was like helping out the heroin addict, I think like shoot up. I think that this is like a long time ago, but it was so beautifully, like I felt like acted and done that it was real. I mean, even at that age, it felt like inspiring, and then I think I told my best friend at the time, Rodi, when I was like, oh, I want to do stand-up comedy, but I didn't really know what that meant.
Yeah.
Like I knew what it was, but I was like, oh, I don't even know how would I get there? And I waited till I was like 19 because I thought you had to be like of legal age to go to a bar. Like I didn't know your parents could take you. But yeah, I did my first or tried it at 19.
You tried stand-up comedy at 19.
Yeah.
Amazing. Just after speaking to your friend, you're like, yo, let's try this.
Well, then that would be like 5 years, I think, after that. But I would like write, I didn't know how to write jokes. I would just write my conversations down that I would have. And like on paper, and I'd put them in this plastic bag, and I'd brought them to like at that time, my best friend Hugo, I brought it to him, and just to look at it. And then I found this comedy Bible, it was called, this book, and I read that, and that kind of teaches you how to write a joke. So it was like a process there.
That's really cool, because I feel like a lot of people, when they're thinking of stand-up comedians, they think sometimes it's coming naturally, and they learn how to structure it just by going up there. Where you're saying you practiced, you went and read a book.
Yeah, I mean now, I think when you get more experience probably, and you just can have a better grasp of it, I think some comics do go up and write on stage.
Oh,
yeah. Like, I mean, like I'll take an idea that I'll jot it in my phone, like notes, and then go on stage and build it from there. So I'll just keep going on stage until They could be do two ways, so you can write it out
Mhm.
and then, or sometimes like things will come to you and then you just develop it that way.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing.
I
So
like doing it that way.
amazing. It's more organic. So started 19 years old, and then how did you get into acting?
Acting, I always wanted to do as well. Like I always like, I admired, I would, the Chris Tucker, Martin Lawrence, how they did stand up and they went into movies and stuff. So that was really something I wanted to do. And I think acting came later on. Like, and I would take classes, but not really, I didn't go at it hardcore. And I think the first thing that I did more repetitive, I guess, was MTV Live in Canada because they would do sketches.
Mhm.
And then from there, it was Mr. D. Mr. D was like the first sitcom I ever did.
So, speaking of acting and speaking of your career in acting, I want to talk about Ramy.
Yes.
So, Ramy, the first of its kind in North America, a show about Arab and Muslim American household, and you played Dr. Ahmed,
Yeah.
a very religious character.
Yeah.
And I wanted to just ask you, just from your experience in the show, what stereotypes do you think the show broke?
I think it just showed, I like these are still human emotion. We all go through these human emotions: love, conflict
Yeah.
with family.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Struggle, like moms as well, not knowing like what their um not what their purpose is. They so dedicate their lives to their children.
Yeah.
They want to have a purpose. They want to feel loved. Aging. That like I remember watching the show and being like, oh yeah, thinking about like, oh man, not neglecting my parents, but like, oh yeah, they like because I feel like your parents are in your life and you're like they're taking care of you, but like who's taking care of them? So like you go about your day, but you don't know what they're going. I don't know if we ask them how you doing, how you feeling.
Yeah.
I feel like especially Middle Eastern kids maybe will be like,
Yeah.
like, oh, how do you feel about this? Maybe it's just my parents.
No, I
Like if I ask my dad how you feel about how you feeling today, man? Like it might shock his system. Like he's like, what?
that's so funny.
Like how?
I
But
could yeah.
yeah, I know. Yeah, there was a lot of stuff outside of just like the culture. I feel like that was like so relatable. Like you'd have people that were like coming from like an Irish background or different backgrounds, like Hispanic, being like, "Oh man, I connected with this," because it's about family, friendship.
Yeah.
But also I feel like it showed the religion in a beautiful way. You know what I'm saying? Like it
Yeah.
didn't feel like sometimes I feel like TV makes it look like it's bad or it's causing harm or it's like almost like in an extreme manner. This was
Mhm.
like, it's just this character wanting to do right by God, I feel, and wanting and showing praying. Like I thought that was huge to show the prayer, the mosque, the sheikhs and all that. Yeah, it was because I learned stuff as well about Islam.
I was gonna ask
Yeah.
you, what stereotypes did it break for you going into the show?
I think it just again it would show because again it showed the religion and the beautiful side of the religion, and that's what I was learning.
Yeah, I love that.
And because it's like if you don't really educate yourself and you're just hearing one side, Muslims this, Muslims that. I feel like yeah, you could have a jaded or not an uneducated, but like you just don't an ignorant, like
Yeah.
and I think a lot of time there's ignorance. But I mean, I had to learn certain things, learn how to pray, and learn certain. And I would go to the mosque. So then I was just being introduced to this, more of an in depth. Like I had obviously Muslim friends growing up in Windsor, just but I wasn't really going in depth into the religion.
I love that. There were two things you mentioned that I think a lot of people will relate to. And I feel like the show in itself gave us perspective about how our parents may be feeling or thinking. And I feel like a lot of us never really thought about that, exactly how you articulated it. Like, the struggles of a Arab baba or an Arab mom.
Yeah.
And I think they did that so like beautiful.
Yeah, you don't
And-
really. Yeah, you don't. Again, it's like
Yeah.
because your mom, like my mom, my Lebanese mom, they're always like caring and which is beautiful and always wanting to put in to their like children's lives. I think my mom one time she was like, "I live for you, Habibi."
I
was
live
like,
for you.
it's so poetic.
That is poetic.
You know what I mean? It's so
Yeah.
passionate, and then you're like, well, who's praying for her or living? Who? Yeah, because she wants to take care of you so much
Yeah.
that I think like through all the like, because I'll ask my mom in text, I'll be like, "How are you?" And she won't reply. She'll just talk about something else or talk about me. I'm trying to like through
Yeah.
text be like, "How are you? How's your day? What are you up to?" And I don't know what she's up to because she won't tell me. It's almost like she looks for the CIA and
And
she's your mom.
imagine if she is low key.
Yeah. So I think it's like that. The show showed like, yeah, because it would go talk. It would had like spotlight on the father, the mom, and the uncle.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely. And like you said, those are usually not really narratives that we hear or think
No.
about.
Or
So
see characters. We don't see
yeah,
these characters like that. So yeah, I think it just I just again always feel grateful that I was able to be a part of something like that.
yeah, and I think it was like a really cool cultural reset for a lot of us
Yeah.
watching it. I remember even back in the day, or it was just a couple of years ago, all of my friends, we were just in my living room and literally just binge watching it. I think we bought Hulu account for like literally for 1 month just so we can watch all the episodes. And it was the first time all of us saw ourselves in one of the
Yeah.
characters. And I think that's what made it so amazing and incredible because it was relatable for everyone to a certain level. Like you
Yeah,
can,
and it's like
yeah,
you felt like you belonged to something like for so many years, or just like, you have something, you feel part of this community, like something
yeah.
was made for you, not specifically for you, but you, yeah, it's like you see other cultures have those moments in TV or movie, and then now this culture has that moment, and it was done in a way where you could like, it was, when you say cool, I'm not mean like cool, like, I don't know how to explain, like it was done in a way where yeah, it's like you're like, oh, I could, I feel like everybody.
Like you can consume it, you know?
Yeah, I
It's
don't know how to. I don't want
entertainment.
to. If I say cool, like you're like, what do you mean? Cool, like,
But it was cool.
yeah,
That's
it's cool.
like it was because I guess the power of comedy, right? It was done in a lighthearted, but also it tackled so many different
It
themes.
did. It tackled a lot of themes and issues and stuff, which was the beautiful part about it as well. And then
Yeah.
I think everybody. I mean, for me too. Meaning, I've had a friend now. So they're friends of mine.
They're friends of yours. That's
You
amazing
know,
to say your cast has become
Yeah,
friends.
and watching them grow as well in other projects was so sweet, and still continue to grow and achieve, and we're in touch, and and it was just great. It also was a great set. I would always look forward to it coming back and filming. It was such a fun time.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. The fact that you guys are still friends speaks to the volume of the energy in the room and what you guys created together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ramy, his energy and he led,
I love
and
that.
it I think in that sense it trickles down.
Absolutely. I am curious. So the first season, when it aired, it tackled a lot of taboo subjects. Ramy showed sex, cheating, struggles with sexuality. And I find that for a lot of Muslim or Arab viewers, it might have shocked their system. Did you find that you received any backlash because of these themes?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really understand. I mean, I understood, but I grew up Christian. Like I grew up like, so I didn't. I mean, I mean, my parents watched it. They weren't like, yeah. I don't know. I felt it like, but again, that's how you. If I don't know how to tell you how to feel,
Yeah.
if you taking it this way, and that's how you're reacting. It's like it's just not. I don't know. That's how you took it. Like I didn't really, but that's none of my business. I can't tell you how to like what to be offended by or not to be offended by. So I was like, I understood it. There was like, I was like, oh, I could see, but I didn't really like. I don't know. There's nothing. I don't think the intent was to offend.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? The intent was so.
I think what was beautifully done about it and what you just said right now is that you guys were showcasing lived experiences of certain characters. It doesn't necessarily mean that this is like a generalization of
No. It was
a
like
society
this.
or a culture.
Yeah, this family in New Jersey.
Yeah.
That's all. Like I think. I mean, but when you make some, I feel sometimes people like because they care and they love it, they're gonna go, oh, like they take it. It goes so personal. But in a sense, that could be just like this family. It's just talking about this family. But when it's on a TV and abroad, you just kind of consume it as like, well, is it about me and my beliefs and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like there's always that pressure that, especially I think with our culture, is that you want to keep like an ideal situation. So like we will never address things like, oh, someone might be cheating or someone might be doing this or that. So to see that being portrayed on TV and to see the struggle and the internal
Yeah.
struggle, I thought that was like, again, like cultural reset. Like it was just
Yeah.
a chance for everybody just to question the world that we live in and this community that we're in.
And I also didn't really, because again, I to Catholic high school, like I didn't
Yeah.
understand, I wasn't well versed in the community, so I didn't know what was offending. You know what I'm saying? Like I would hear it and see it, but again, I didn't. Again, like I went to Catholic high school, so I wouldn't. Some of the stuff was lost on me a bit, like within the Muslim culture, right, in the community, because
Yeah.
at the time I wasn't, like I had friends, but I wasn't fully invested in the community.
I get that. I get that. And I respect the fact that you said that, yo, you know what? If you're not intending to offend anybody, but this is the story and the experiences of those characters. Was there a topic or a theme that you were a little hesitant to tackle as Dr. Ahmed or as just a part of the cast in general?
I don't think there was anything really. I mean, for my character, I don't
Yeah.
know. Like I felt like, I wasn't. Again, it's like with offending, it's like, I feel if it's not malice, you know what I mean? I think the
Of course.
person
Yeah.
delivering it, for the most part, I feel is knowledgeable. I don't even know if that's a word, but like knowing if the intent is are going to be hurtful. Like if you're purposely writing something to hurt somebody or
Mm.
or a group of people, then that's messed up, right? But if it's like you're trying to, show your art or do a joke and then you don't know how people are going to take it. Again, I think it's the intention. And I think there are times where someone's like, no, I'm going to make a really harmful joke here.
Yeah.
But I feel like
agree.
I didn't feel that with my character.
And I 100% like I can see that
Yeah.
because it's again you're just showcasing lived experiences of different people, and for anyone who was offended, I'm sure that there were a lot more people that felt seen and heard
Yeah.
with that representation.
I was my character was devout, right?
Yeah,
I
you got
was
you
by
got
the
the super Muslim
Yeah.
doctor.
Yeah.
I love that.
I loved my wife.
You loved your wife Yasmina.
Yeah.
And then there was one of my favorite scenes actually with your character is when Dr. Ahmed was struggling between wanting to marry another wife, and it was a very interesting way to introduce the idea of polygamy in our culture.
Yeah, it was really fun to do, man.
It was fun.
really, really fun to like, Ham, who plays the mother on the show, she directed that episode.
Amazing.
Yeah, so that was like that was also, so helpful. Like she was just there for me, and Ramy as well was, so it just, yeah, I really had a great time. There was like stressful moments, obviously, because I wanted to nail it,
Yeah.
because it was like an episode for that character. So that was the first time I've ever been a part of something like that. So there was a lot of nerve and stress because I wanted to do the best job that I can do, but it was like really fun and interesting. And I felt like I was able to like, just like, stretch my acting and show different emotions. Like, and yeah, I felt like the character in that episode showed you like, there was like a journey.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
It was so funny. I still remember one of the scenes where I think you were listening to a Joe Rogan podcast
Yeah.
episode, and the
No,
solution
it was
it not Joe?
no, it was Mo was talking about like Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan. Yes,
Yeah.
Mo was talking about Joe Rogan and the poop switch.
Yeah. About putting poop in. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So
It was fun to play and it was always really fun to be in scenes with everybody, and when it was like the comedy scenes, or not comedy scenes, but like when it was me, Mo, and Steve and Ramy, it was like really, really fun to be able to like sometimes, just kind of go like improvise or just like, yeah, they were
so fun.
they were so fun.
I was like, how did you guys even come up with this? Were you just like listening to Joe Rogan and you're like, oh, this would be a cool way to
I mean, that I
include
don't know,
this?
because there was the writers, right?
That's
So
true,
I,
that's
yeah,
true.
I wasn't part of the writing process, but like, yeah, it was really fun to do, man.
That was hilarious. So now that you played Dr. Ahmed, who in this episode was debating between marrying a second wife,
Yeah.
did it change your perspective on the idea of polygamy?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know if I could like be with two people. I don't know if I could be with two. Yeah. Or yeah.
Because
I'm, you know, I'm
makes
still
sense.
working on my insecurities and jealousy.
That's like
So
one person is
yeah, I'm fine
is
with
hard
one
enough.
person. Yeah. I just need to be better, you know,
Yeah.
and then, you know, with one person, I don't think two.
Two is
Yeah.
it's more
That's like,
challenging. That's another whole other level of challenges.
well, it's just like, yeah, or for me, it's just like, I just want to love one person. That's, you know, I'm not
Yeah.
knocking whatever you do. I'm saying I just want to be with one person.
Uh,
That person, you know, that's for me, and I'm for her. I'm for her, and
Yeah,
yeah,
I like that. I
yeah,
respect that. And what's interesting is that, like, at least even for me, when I like how I understood the idea of like guys marrying a second or third wife or fourth wife, is that it's mostly to do with lust, and they just want to like build that ecosystem. But what
yeah.
was interesting in the show, that wasn't the reason why Ahmed wanted to
No,
marry another wife. It
no,
was because he wanted a child
he
from
wanted a
a
child. Yeah,
yeah. So
so it's maybe yeah, he wanted a child. He wanted to have a child, and you know, they didn't know if they were gonna have one, or she didn't know if she wanted. His wife in the show didn't know if, you know, she wanted to have one. So yeah, that was, I think, his why he wanted to. I don't think it was a lust thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
we
like
were talking about your character.
about your character,
Yeah.
it was interesting, man. Like I said, like this is the first time I think Hulu probably had the discussion or the theme of polygamy,
Yeah,
and it was
yeah.
done in a very
I
funny,
thought it was done in a very
creative way.
anxiety-ridden, funny way.
Yeah. And again, like at least for myself as a viewer, it broke a lot of stereotypes I had and preconceived ideas that I may have developed just knowing.
Yeah, same. Because you
Yeah.
might, like you said, you might think it's like for lust, or, you know, for, yeah, building whatever. Like, I didn't know. Yeah, and that was like a different perspective.
It's very cool. Very cool. So we talked about a lot of the themes. There was polygamy. Was there a theme that was very taboo and you're like, yo, you're happy that we talked about it at Ramy, or we discuss or not discussed it, but it was portrayed in Ramy that never really was portrayed before?
Um, that's a good question. I mean, the one, I guess, no, but having like fooling around with your cousin, that's been done before? No,
Has it been done before?
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, we need to fact check. I have no. That
That-
was interesting. That was interesting, I would say.
That is an interesting
Yeah.
concept. So for those who might not have watched Ramy, there was like a love plot between Ramy and his cousin.
Yeah.
And yeah, definitely, I feel like at least our parents' generation, it's something that's very accepted. But
That's yeah. That's when I would hear about that. So yeah, but
and
it was still like an interesting. Yeah.
it is, it is. So what are your thoughts about that now that you've had Ramy and you
Like
played
if
that?
I
Yeah, like what is your
attracted to my
your
cousin?
cousins are gonna be listening to this?
Oh no, that's no. You can leave me out of that. I'll tell you, you can leave me out of that.
That's too funny. But it's true. I feel like we're always taught a certain way from like our parents, and then we're taught from like our peers. And what Ramy did was just like, oh he was challenging what he believed as what he can
Yeah.
have as a romantic relationship.
Yeah, which is like cool to see on yeah, like taking that challenge and seeing how it plays out in a scene in a whole arc.
It is very cool. That's very cool. And do you know, actually, just on the topic of family, one of my favorite scenes of all time is with Maysa, Ramy's mom,
Yeah.
played by Hiam Abbas, when she was taking her U.S. oath citizenship.
Oh yeah.
And she was looking at Donald Trump and she was vowing to vote him out.
Yeah, it was like a while. That scene was so dope.
That was iconic.
But also, before we do that, is like, I remember my dad, when he watched the show, he came up to me. I think I was visiting, and he just came up to me, he goes, Ramy fucked his cousin, man. Like, I think that's what he took for the whole.
That's so
I was
funny.
like, I mean, it's a TV show, but it was just the way he was
That's
so serious. Like, he just didn't. It wasn't like he was laughing. He just looked at me. So, but yeah,
That's so funny. He was just that was like the conclusion from the
yeah. It was like he was like, did he? sex with his cousins, man. Like it was, yeah,
That's so funny. I remember watching it and it didn't register in my head because they kept it in the beginning to be a little subtle.
yeah,
And I was like, damn, Ramy. But I love the fact that he's kind of like portrayed as like an anti-hero but he still has this faith in God.
yeah,
So it's a very interesting character development.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think so. I agree with you.
Yeah. So just going back to Mesa, Ramy's mom, going back to Ramy's mom, when she was taken on oath to become a US citizen, she looked at Donald Trump's picture and
Yeah.
she wanted to vote him out. How do you think Mesa would react to Donald Trump being president again?
I mean, probably not good. If she was trying to vote him out the first time, I think she was probably trying to vote him out again. Yeah, not good at all. I mean, yeah, you can't. I mean, because I don't know much about politics, but I know he tried to do the Muslim ban,
Oh yeah,
right?
yep.
Am I that correct?
He
Yeah.
did, yes.
So it's like even so, if you just that, let alone you're like, as someone who's Muslim, how do you even trust somebody like that? That's you said it out, like you say you've stated, it's very clear. It wasn't like hiding it. You're like, I'm gonna ban these people.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't understand why you would even want to be even support that.
I can see that. I think for a lot of Muslims and Arabs who might have just saw the elections, it's kind of like they're what is it called? Like they're two sides of the same coin at this. Like
It feels like again that he says things that are like that come across racist, and the people he's talking about seem to some of them just are like, oh, that's fine, or not fine, but they're just kind of like they go with it, which is also weird. Like I've never seen it just makes I don't know even how to make sense of it.
It's true. Like you got Rudy Giuliani was at his, what was it, like the rally? He was talking about how Palestinians are taught to kill us or to kill the Americans when they're 2-year-olds.
Some of the stuff coming out of that was just like, you just felt you're like, what era are like, what time are we in? This is wild, and it just felt it felt harmful.
The rhetoric is harmful, absolutely.
Yeah, it just felt like it's like sometimes people are like, it's just, these are words, but these are harmful words, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's like people will believe that.
People will believe it.
They will, and then you just sit here like, no. I'm like, I'm like, yeah. I mean, it can't be good.
Absolutely, especially because if you didn't really interact with a lot of Arabs or
how you're gonna believe it.
You're gonna believe it.
Yeah, you're gonna go okay, which is like, so it's like harmful that it's awful that this person is spreading these things, telling these
absolutely.
it's that whole thing. I didn't watch it. I saw clips and I was like, I just think we should be better than that.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Should be way better than that.
So my next question to you is, now that Trump has won, do you think it's going to be better or worse for Arabs and Muslims living in America?
I don't again, when I say is like, if he at one point said, I want to ban Muslims, how can it get better than, like, do you know what I mean? Like, what's he going to say next? Like, that's already a wild thing to say, and an awful thing and a harmful thing to say. So I don't know. I got, in my mind, I'm like, it's probably going to be worse. Like, from what I've seen and what he said, I don't see it being better. Cause like, that's why it's like wild is like, it's like he's saying all these things. So yeah, what do you want me to take? Like if I walk up to you and start making fun of everything you're wearing, like you're obviously the next encounter with you is not going to be pleasant. No, like with me, if I go, oh, your hair's shit, your eyebrows or whatever, you're not.
Why you gotta diss me like that, man?
No, I mean, but do you know what I mean? So I feel like, I don't see it getting better.
Because it's interesting, because like when we were talking about the Muslim ban is in the context of Muslims coming from certain countries that he deems to be quote unquote like high risk. But then the rhetoric that comes with it just fuels people's racism, discrimination.
Yeah, if you have no knowledge of that, you're of course, and you're somewhere in Memphis or wherever in America, you're gonna be like, well, that's our leader, So it's like you're just inciting, you're just enraging these people that are just like are looking for that. Be like, told you. So how's that going to be any good for anyone living in America? How? if your leader is saying like these people are harmful, you know, and you're not going to educate yourself, or you're just gonna believe a stereotype. It's gonna be dangerous. You know, it happens. You see it in the news.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You feel a rise of hate crimes.
It's not good.
It's not, man. It's not.
That's why it's like, yeah, I don't know.
It's interesting, man, because like I think for a lot of Arabs and Muslims in this election, they were struggling between Kamala, who supported and aided
Yeah.
the genocide, and then on the other hand, you have someone who has these harmful rhetorics. For better or worse, at least there was some change. I don't know what's going to happen. It's very difficult to predict, but I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be very difficult.
Yeah.
To look past someone who has had this rhetoric and has
like this
created these
reputation or these words that have been
crazy,
said.
man.
Yeah, it's like, and again, I don't know much about politics, but it just doesn't feel like the humanity. It just feels like,
It's crazy, man. I get it.
you know, like,
yeah. Okay, very important question I got for you, because now we're talking about Donald Trump, we're talking about racism, and I want to ask you, do you think as a society we've become too politically correct?
I mean, but like example, like what do you mean? Like
Just in general, like what do you think? Okay,
like I think I was telling you before when we chatted, is like I do stand up comedy, obviously, and I'm in Victoria, BC. I have a show there, and I'm just in a vintage store, and I'm, you know, and with a local comic, and we're just talking, and it just got to with one of the guys that works there, and I'm saying, yeah, I'm doing a show, and he goes, are you PC? Are you politically correct? And I go, I don't know. I talk about my Lebanese dad and my family. But in my head, I was like, what do you want to, like, what do you, like, I just want to tell jokes. You know what I'm saying? I want to do comedy. It's like, I try to do my jokes that like from experiences from my life. And again, if it's like, if the intent is not to be harmful, then and it's creative, do your thing. But I feel, you know, sometimes these jokes do come off like harmful or rude or ignorant or racist, and then people go, "Nah, man, you just want to censor comedy." It's like, no one's saying that. You know, I think they get mixed up. There are really creative, edgy jokes, and then there's just like harmful jokes. And the person that is like being like, we're too politically correct, isn't looking at the difference. I feel sometimes. That's what gets annoying, because it's like, okay, this joke is clearly not like the intent was to be harmful there.
And you know what's interesting what you just said, because I feel like a lot of people would be like, oh, political correctness is ruining comedy, whereas you're saying it's like, no, you can be edgy, but there's a fine line. Like for anyone who might be listening to this, who might be in comedy or might be listening to comedians, where do you think you draw the line between it being offensive and when it's edgy and like funny?
I think if it's a bad joke.
If it's a bad joke.
You've been at a party where a guy or a girl does a bad joke and it comes across racist. You're like, that wasn't good. That was a bad joke.
That was a bad joke.
That was a bad joke. And you've been around comics. You know comics that have done good jokes that are edgy. We know those comics. Yeah. And for some odd reason, we seem to forget when it's a bad joke and go, oh, man, look, we can't say anything anymore. I feel Carlin was pushing the boundaries.
Pushing the boundaries.
And everything. And it was big, but he knew how to write a well-crafted, thoughtful, funny joke.
I like it, like you said, exactly. Like, I think a lot of people use it as kind of an excuse to just want to be like, hey, yo, this is just, let's be a little bit more racist.
Look at the comments on like Instagram. There's some hateful people.
Some hateful,
openly bigot, racist people. With their names and their pictures. You could see into the thing. This is, you know, click on their Instagram. You'll see they're like, just, you know.
I always wonder, like, with those comics, like, is it they're just in their room, like, smoking a joint, and their friends are like, oh, this is funny.
But those are the people who will be like, oh, man, you trying to censor comedy. I go, no, look at your comments.
That's so funny. What is that? Because, like, there's in comedy, isn't there a rule, like, punch up and punch down, like, if you're...
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is like, so sometimes people do put like, you know, I just think it's like we're all grown here. That's the annoying part. We're grown here. We're grown people.
Yeah.
Don't like lie. Don't like play me to my face.
I get
That's
that.
what the annoying part is. It's like we know what's happening here, and then you're just trying to move the goalpost on it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you very much for sharing that. In the interest of time, I want to just get to our last subject, which is something that we talked about it briefly, and I wanted to just thank you for in advance for sharing this because I know this is something that's very personal
Yeah.
to you, and that fact that you converted to Islam.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more, if you feel comfortable, about why you decided to convert?
Yeah, I think it was, I always was, I grew up religious, so religion was all, I'd pray before I go to bed since I was like a kid. So, and I believe in the spiritual, and I wasn't going to church as much like I used to when I was younger, but I was still religious. I believed in God, and I would pray. So that was always a thing. And like for Islam, I didn't. It was. I don't know. It wasn't. It was like organic. Like there was like steps to it. It wasn't like I was like I first started praying like maybe like 4 years, maybe 2020. I would say when I
Okay.
in LA, um, I was doing. I joined some friends during Ramadan and try to go as much as I could in those 30 days. Um, but yeah, I remember. At that time, I'd lost some friend and uncles, and I think it was
My
very,
condolences.
huh?
My condolences.
Thank you. It was like and then also I'd like my own like I would be angry or frustrated and stuff. I'd go do. I didn't know anything. I was doing the tarawih.
The Taraweeh.
Yeah, so it's 20 rakas. Am I getting it
Wrong
right?
person to ask, but I'm gonna say yes.
Or I was but I didn't know. So we would pray, and then I would go home, and I felt like super like relaxed, and like some stuff was lifted off of my shoulders, and and I would and I would keep. I was going, and then I didn't fast that year, and then slowly every year I just then 1 year I fasted for I think some of the days, and then by the year after that I was
Yeah.
closer to like the 30 days, and then uh but then I did the I was yeah I was I think 2 or 3 years ago, I think 2 years ago.
Okay. Okay.
I was a mosque in LA. We did Friday prayer, me and my friend, and then I had asked him on the way back to the cars, like we were going back to our cars.
Yeah.
Or I think I was going in his car. Um, that how if I wanted to convert, and then he was like, "Oh, we can go back," and then we went back.
Wow. Wait,
Yeah,
I want to just ask a little bit more about the first time you actually decided to go to the mosque. Like, what made you want to pray with your friends, like back in
I think too
2020?
like I would in 2020 I listened. It was our friend's friend who was leading the prayers, and just like he would. I think he was reading stuff from the Quran, and it just really like I was like connecting to it. Like it wasn't like I wasn't like when I first went I didn't go I'm like gonna go and convert. I didn't. That wasn't
Yeah.
what was in my head. It was just yeah, it happened. I felt naturally, and I just felt like I connected to the religion. And also being on Ramy as well, I got to learn and I got to see, and I'm playing this character, so there was like again, I always growing up I had Muslim friends, but again it
Mhm.
wasn't as like in depth as it was the last, like I would say, yeah, last decade maybe.
I love that. I love that how you kind of just started organically learning about a religion and starting to connect with God. And then it wasn't just like, oh, you saw kind of like a quote and then boom, you decided
No, and I still
to
have to
convert.
read. Like I started reading the Quran, like a little bit of it. I need to like finish it, but I
Amazing.
still need to learn more.
So what
And
is it about Islam for you that brings you peace?
oh, it's a good. I don't. I don't want to say. I think a feeling. I don't know if that's gonna explain it enough.
Mm.
Again, like when you're at the mosque and hearing what the sheikh is saying, like it just. I don't know. A lot of it would resonate. And it's like this um not due for like I'm trying to articulate it where because I don't really know fully much about it to give like I feel like the most proper answer I can give for me, it's like when I'm praying, what it brings to me, and like, like if I can get the 5 prayers in the day, like how I feel, how it makes me feel. There's like a not a sense of discipline. It's just a connection I have with God and Allah. That's when I'm doing
Yeah.
that. Like I can't. I'm probably not doing a good job explaining it, but it's like the feeling I get when I'm praying and when I'm at the mosque and when I'm praying with friends.
It sounds to me it's like the practice of Islam.
Yeah.
Like when you're praying, you're at the mosque,
Yeah.
you're fasting, you're around your community.
Yes.
It's bringing peace, and that's
Peace, love and care,
I
and
love
it's
that.
like and community, and yeah, it does really. It would bring me closer to my friends and even strangers. Like, there's something about like I remember one time I was in the mosque praying, and then everyone was coming in and taking their shoes off, and like not they were there was like a sense of rush, but it was just like how everybody came from all walks of life just to pray.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that churches do that as well, but it was just I think it was a visual, the manner of it all. Like everyone, like it was in New York, so everyone, the shoes are everywhere, and everyone's coming in. You'd see like Uber drivers or whoever coming in, and like between shifts maybe, and it's just like, yeah, it felt like such a community,
Yeah, that's beautiful.
and to practice it, yeah,
That's a beautiful way of looking at Islam, and making a decision to connect more, because like I think you or Ramy, I remember listening to an interview mentioning like when it comes to just the idea of God, everyone has like a different way of what God is, but you're finding ways to connect how you perceive or what you believe in God.
yeah, and again, it's like I think it's the how it brings you closer to the people around you as well.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like it just feels like the outside world is stripped away when you're in those moments and you're just praying and you're with your friends or you're with your
Yeah.
people and you're with God. And then and there's that kind of, and I think it's so welcoming. Like
Yeah.
I'll observe it. It's like welcoming because it's like you're praying to Allah, like God. So God, if God welcomed me, I'll welcome the next
It's
person.
inclusive.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's why I think people don't like, they see like
Yeah.
they learn the awful things or they have a stereotype about it and they don't understand. They don't go there and see how welcoming it is.
I was gonna ask, like, what do you think is a misconception about Islam that now that you've converted, that it's like this is not the reality, but people still perceive it as?
I don't know what they're perceiving, but I know is like when you go in there, it's like as it's it's loving.
It's loving. Wow.
Yeah. When you go in, so when I'm there, I feel it.
Wow.
So
That's amazing. I'm very happy for you, and congratulations.
thank you.
I want to ask, the last question is, now that when it comes to conversion, I know this might be a difficult conversation to have with your loved ones, with your family. How did those conversations go, if you don't mind us asking?
I mean, my family's, my sister, my mom, and my dad, they believe in God. My brothers too, but just my, my sister and my mom and dad go to church. I feel more, but like, yeah, they're always like, if you believe in God,
If you
they
believe in God.
yeah. So it's like it's more of like you found God,
Amazing.
and you're practicing, and you're yeah.
So for them, it's more
It makes
like,
them. I think I can see my mom and dad and my sister being happy with that and comforted.
I love that. So it's more like the fact that you're believing in
Yeah.
God, the way you decide to connect with God, that's up to you.
Yeah.
I think that's a very beautiful and healthy way of looking at it. What advice would you want to give to someone who might be in the journey of conversion right now?
I mean, every thing is going to be different, but I just know it was like a natural for me. It was just a natural progression. Like I didn't, I had I had like, as my friends around me to help me and give me advice and never, it wasn't ever forced.
Mm.
It was like, oh yeah, it was a very like, there was such great guidance.
So I like how you said everyone is going to be different and it's more like nuance, but like turning to your friends and community is a great way to just get a little bit of guidance, because you're still figuring it out and you need support. And I think that's for really anything, especially for spirituality. So yeah. So Dave, thank you so much for for coming on Yalla Let's Talk. I really can't stress this enough. This was a very
Finally, it took some
yeah,
time.
finally. You know, I was just getting flashbacks when we met in, I think it was in 2020.
Yeah.
It was on Zoom. Oh my God, I still remember this. Me and Mace, after the call with you, we were like so starstruck. We're like, this is Dr. Ahmed from Ramy. That was amazing. And now we manifested this 4 years later.
Yeah, I mean, I'm oh, I don't want to hit the chord,
you're
but
good, man.
like, no, I would watch the clips, and I had friends that have done it, so I was like, yeah, I was so glad that you asked.
course,
Yeah,
man.
I was like, oh, that was something I wanted to do.
I'm really happy.
Genuinely.
I believe it, man. I appreciate you.
I say Yalla
Yalla.
a lot. We all say Yalla.
It's definitely a common word for us.
You hear your mom saying it. It's like Yalla, Habi, Yalla.
Yalla.
Like it's done in different tones as well. Yeah, like, you know, to show different emotions. Yeah, I mean, Yalla.
Yalla.
Yeah, it's a great word.
It's the best word. Like what does it mean for those who don't know what Yalla can mean?
It's yeah, like hurry up.
Yeah.
Keep it or move fast.
I think so, yeah.
Right?
You can say Yalla to like say come on, Yalla,
Yeah,
move fast.
Move fast, or Yalla,
Yalla.
like let's go, but not rush.
Yeah.
Yalla.
Yalla.
Okay.
And then Yalla, let's talk, you know?
Well, let's talk, man.
It's a pleasure, Habibi. And
Pleasure. I keep looking at this camera's not even
This
looking
is-
at me.
no, this is your camera. This one is your camera.
They're gonna be like, why is that guy? Oh, he doesn't know how to look at camera. I thought
That's-
he was an actor.
Habibi, man. Well, it's a pleasure. I want to leave you with one last question. Okay. So, Mr. Dave, if you can send a message to the entire world right now, what would it be?
I would say have if you have differentiating points or views, try to understand each other at least and listen. Try to not be harmful. Try to have some compassion. Try not to be ignorant. And try to care more, empathy.
I love that.
Yeah,
You gotta,
it's like
gotta
I know
make
people are when they're like, oh, some points if you're arguing with someone, you're like, yeah, that you're coming, it's like I'm right or wrong, but it's like we just have to treat each other a lot better, man. We just have to kind of step outside of ourselves and just try to have an understanding of other people, but please, like, just be better to each other.
be better to each other.
We need to be better to each other, and let's think clearly,
Yeah.
and let's just, try to kind of like, because there are kids that are seeing this, there are youth that are seeing this, and it's just like, you want to have you want them to grow up and just have a better place and time and be around better people.
Absolutely. And I
They
think,
can, or good, or yeah.
and this is a very timely message. Like, there's a lot of people with different perspectives, and you got people who are so devoted on one way of thinking that they're not taking into account what, maybe another perspective. And you don't have to agree.
Harmful. We're being harmful, I feel, to each other, and we're, it's just like people are suffering, people are hurting, and it's just, if we could talk it out and express ourselves and not keep it bottled up, but like, we have to be just a lot kinder to each other.
The world's polarized more than ever, and kindness is a good way to start.
Yeah.
Damn, bro, that's a very inspirational way to end this podcast.
Yeah.
So where can people find Mr. Dave?
They can find me on Instagram, Dave Merheje, my website, davemerheje.com, and Facebook. That's how you can tell I'm older.
Right?
Right?
Yo, you have
People are
Facebook,
like, talk to somebody young, they're like, what the fuck is Facebook, bro? Yeah, you can find me there. But yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. You guys go and follow Mr. Dave. Thank you guys for listening to this episode on Yalla Let's Talk. If you enjoyed the episode, please don't forget to subscribe and rate the episode. It means a lot, and this is how we grow together. Yalla, bye.